Hello everyone, welcome to 3.6 Patterns with Decimals. The essential question is, how can you use addition or subtraction to describe a pattern or create a sequence with decimals? So a sequence is an ordered list of numbers, such as 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That would be a sequence of numbers. And a term is each individual number in a sequence. So like 2 is a term, 4 is a term. Alright, make sure you write that down. And also write down the rules. The first rule is write the terms you know in a sequence. So write not just the ones you know, just write all the terms. Okay, I'm going to change that. Write all the terms in a sequence. Is the sequence going up or down? And you want to look for the pattern by finding the difference or sum from one term to the next. If it's going up, you need to subtract 2 terms. If it's going down, you need to add 2 terms. And that's going to tell you what the pattern is. And I'll show you that in the next example. And then you want to check to make sure that that rule applies for the entire sequence. Alright, so let's go with the first example. A state park rents canoes for guests to use at the lake. It costs $5 to rent a canoe for 1 hour, $6.75 for 2 hours, $8.50 for 3 hours, and $10.25 for 4 hours. If this pattern continues, how much should it cost Jason to rent a canoe for 7 hours? So what you want to do is you want to write the numbers in a sequence. 5, 6.75, 8.50, and 10.25. And they want to know what's it going to be for the 7th term. Okay, so you have to find out what's the 5th, 6th, and then finally 7th. So since we know that it's going up, right, it's increasing, we need to do the opposite, which is subtract to find out how much is it going up by. So I'm going to take the 2 lowest terms because that's going to be the easiest one, or at least the simplest one, and do 6.75 minus 5, which would be 5.00. Okay? And let's subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5, 7 minus 0 is 7, 6 minus 5 is 1. Okay, so it's increasing 1.75. Let's double check just to make sure. Let's do 6.75 and 8.5. So let's do 8.50 minus 6.75. And let's go ahead and subtract. We have to regroup here. 10 minus 5 is 5. That 5 changes to 14 because it goes down 1. And 14 minus 7 is 7. And 7 minus 6 is 1. So we see that it is increasing 1.75 each time. So now what we have to do is figure out these 3 blanks. And eventually figure out the 7th one. Because that's what they're asking for 7 hours. And the way that we can do that is we have to add 1.75 with the one that they got for 4 hours, which is 10.25. And that'll get us how much it is for 5 hours, and then we'll take that, add 1.75 for 6 hours, and take that number, and add 1.75 for the final 7 hours. So let's take 10.25, which is for 4 hours, and add 1.75. Okay, that's going to tell us what it is for the 7th, or for at least the 5th term. Okay, and we get $12. So we know for 5 hours it's going to be $12. Let's keep going because we need to find out what it is for the 6th and finally the 7th term. Take the $12 and add 1.75. That's going to get us 13.75. So for 6 hours, it's going to be 13.75. And for the 7th and final hour, we take 13.75 and we add 1.75 again. And that's going to get us $15.50. So for 7 hours, it should cost Jason for to rent a canoe for 7 hours $15.50. All right. Once again, you have to write the terms in sequence. Since you know it's going up, you want to subtract 2 of the 2 numbers to figure out how much is it going up by. Then you have to, since it was only for 4 hours, you have to find out how much is it for 5 hours, 6 hours, and 7 hours. And the way you do that is you just add 1.75 each time. Alright, that's example 1. That is probably going to be the most difficult example that you will see, at least in this video. Okay, let's go ahead and do example number 2. Example number 2 is write a rule for the pattern in the sequence, then find the unknown terms in a sequence. So they already give you the sequence here, and they're saying, okay, what are these unknown numbers, or unknown terms, and what's the pattern? All right, so the way that we find the pattern, let's see, is it going up or down? Well, it went from 2.96 to 28. It went from 29.6 to 28.3. And seeing that, and then 28.3 it goes to 27. We see that we know it's going down. So since it's going down, we need to add, because that's the opposite of subtracting, right? It's going down, so we need to add to find out how much is it going down by. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take 27 and I'm going to see, okay, how much is it in relations to 28.3? Honestly, guys, you can do addition or subtraction. Like if you're going to go from small to big, you can add. Or if you're going to go from the big term to the small term, you can subtract. So since I did from one term to the other in the last video, I'm going to show you how to do it with addition. So I'm going to go from 19.2 to 20.5. Okay? And I'm going to say, okay, how much does 19.2 go into 20.5? Honestly, guys, I don't know how well addition is going to work in this problem. Let's just go ahead and do subtraction. I won't show you addition for this one, because I don't think it's going to work that well. Let's find out how much is it decreasing by just from subtraction. So, sorry I said I'm going to do addition. I'm not. It's just not going to work out that well. So let's take 20.5, and let's see how much is it going to be to go to 19.2. So 5 minus 2 is 3. We have to regroup here. 10 minus 9 is 1. Bring down that decimal. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So we see that from 20.5 to 19.2, it's decreasing 1.3. All right, and we can check that. Let's do 27 minus 25.7. All right, we have to add a 0 there. And just know that any whole number has that invisible 0 after a decimal. Sometimes they just don't show it. And let's go ahead and subtract. Change the 0 to a 10, 7 to a 6. 10 minus 7 is 3. 6 minus 5 is 1. 1.3. So we know that it is decreasing 1.3 every single time. So knowing that it's decreasing 1.3, let's find these unknown terms. So let's take 25.7, subtract 1.3. 7 minus 3 is 4. 5 minus 1 is 4. 2 minus 0 is 2. So this term right here is 24.4. All right, and then we take 24.4 and subtract 1.3. That gets us 23.1. That's going to be the second term. And let's take 23.1 and subtract 1.3. 11 minus 3 is 8. Bring the decimal. 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 minus 0 is 2. 21.8 is our third term. And let's check to make sure 21.8 minus 1.3 equals 20.5. If it does, we know that we did it right. So let's take 21.8 minus 1.3, and that should get us 20.5, and it does. So we know that our three terms are 24.4, 23.1, and 21.8. And the pattern is that it is decreasing 1.3 every single time. All right, that's the second example. If you need to rewind and pause, go ahead. Okay, we didn't do addition on that just because it wasn't going to work out. We saw that it was decreasing. Subtraction was the best way to go. Let's keep it simple, guys. Let's do the third and final example. Okay, and they give us numbers again. They're not asking for a pattern here. They're just asking what is this unknown term. But if you find the unknown term, you obviously know what the pattern is. So let's find the unknown term for this. All right, and let's see, is it going up or down? Well, it went from 65.9 to 65.3, and after this unknown term, it goes from 64.1 to 63.5, so we know it's going down. So let's take 65.9, subtract 65.3 to see how much is it going down by. 9 minus 3 is 6, 5 minus 5 is 0, and 6 minus 6 is 0, so it's being minus 0.6, or minus 0.6. Let's check that one more time. Let's take 64.1 minus 0.6, and that should get us 63.5. Okay, so that goes to 11, that goes to 3. 11 minus 6 is 5. 3 minus 0 is 3. Bring down that decimal. 6 minus 0 is 6. All right, so it does work. It is going down 0.6. So let's take 65.3 minus 0.6, and that's going to get us the final term. So let's regroup here. Bring down that decimal. 13 minus 6 is 7. 4 minus 0 is 4. And 6 minus 0 is 6. All right. Our unknown term is 64.7. And I know if I subtract 0.6, just off the top of my head, I would get 64.1. All right, if you need to write that down, go ahead and do so. That's all 3 examples for you. If you have any questions, make sure to write them down. Thank you guys. Have a good one.